Now it is my honor to open ALPA's Air Safety Forum for the first time as ALPA's president. I feel especially pleased that we have more than 800 individuals registered for this event, a strong turnout at a critical time as we welcome passengers back to the skies in record numbers. It's especially appropriate that we are meeting in this very room in which the Convention on International Civil Aviation was signed and created the organization that would become the International Civil Aviation Organization. The states that signed the convention agreed on the principle of developing civil aviation with safety as a priority. I'd like to welcome everyone in this room, and especially the line pilots that fly air passengers and cargo every day and every night in the United States, Canada, and around the globe. It's ALPA's line pilots who drive our union's agenda. And today, we're proud to represent more than 75,000 airline pilots, more pilots than at any time in our union's history. The growth of our union reflects the growth of the labor movement. The latest polling shows that union movement is on the rise in the United States. It is broadly supported across political parties and is especially strong among young workers. For ALPA and the entire labor movement, safety is at the core of everything we do. It's reflected in our advocacy and in our strong collective bargaining agreements. It's also important to recognize that solidarity is and will always be the foundation of ALPA's work. In this solidarity that allows us to continue to represent the line pilot perspective from the flight deck with authority. Our solidarity is also what allows us to lead collaborative efforts to enhance safety around the globe, throughout the airline industry and across the table with regulators and airlines. On safety, security, pilot assistance, and jump seat aviation issues, ALPA is front and center when and where it matters most. Whether it's before international aviation advisory bodies, Congress and Parliament, or local airport communities, our union works to forge regulator-airline labor collaboration. And we do it at the international, national, state and province, and local levels. We're eager to work together. However, ALPA stands by our principle that safety must come first, and on our flight decks and in the global aviation industry. On this point, there's simply no backing down for ALPA's pilots. As we gather here in Chicago to rededicate ourselves to the cause of safety, there are special interests back in Washington that are working overtime to undermine the extraordinary progress we've made to keep flying safe. I want to be clear, ALPA will never back down in our fight against those who seek to weaken pilot training rules or propose an arbitrary, unstudied increase to the mandatory retirement age. As a qualified and current pilot on the 767, I have more than 25 years of experience flying for both regional and mainline airlines. I can tell you firsthand from the flight deck that line pilots will never back down on safety, especially when it comes to pilot training. In fact, ALPA is advocating in every way possible to keep our life-saving pilot training standards strong. Strong for passengers, strong for crews, and strong for cargo shippers. After all, ALPA's roots lie in fighting for one level of safety, and it forms the foundation of all that we stand for. And we have no greater ally in this fight than Illinois' own Senator Tammy Duckworth. Senator Duckworth is a pilot herself and knows firsthand the importance of rigorous training requirements. I applaud Senator Duckworth for her leadership and ask that each of you join me in a round of applause for her efforts. In addition to ALPA's commitment to defend first officer qualifications, we continue to advocate against arbitrarily increasing the pilot retirement age without studying the safety and operational effects of doing so. Our union's opposition was expressed in ALPA policy last year and unanimously reaffirmed by our board of directors, our highest governing body. The airlines industry's success in achieving the gold standard of safety has been predicated on looking before we leap, on evaluating the potential consequences before making any change that could affect safety. Again, we have the safest system in the world thanks to your hard work, ALPA's collaboration with industry, and the regulatory framework that we've put in place. So it's clear that no one who has public interest in mind would ever suggest that we should upend that system. Only special interests would do that. It's those same special interests that are holding up passage of the FAA reauthorization bill, denying the agency the funding and policy direction it needs at a critical moment in time. In fact, if not for these special interests, I believe we'd have an FAA reauthorization bill approved and signed into law right now. Let's stop trying to break a system that's working, saving lives, and get a bill to the President for his signature before the end of the month. Then let's have an honest discussion focused on identifying real solutions to ensure that we have a robust supply of pilots and those who live in small and rural communities have access to safe, reliable air service. We know that we have enough pilots now in the United States. In fact, we shattered the monthly record for producing new pilots in August with more than 1,200 ATPs. The United States is on track to outperform last year's record-breaking year. But this doesn't mean that we shouldn't do more to attract and inspire the next generation and make becoming a pilot more accessible and affordable to all who want to earn the qualifications to fly. With the nomination of Michael Whitaker for FAA Administrator and the DOT's commitment that he'll protect pilot training, preserve first officer qualification requirements, and keep at least 2 well-trained pilots on the flight deck, I feel confident that we'll succeed in protecting and advancing the world's safest air transportation system and inspire the new generation of qualified airline pilots. We look forward to his swift approval by the U.S. Senate. We're honored to have Kathy Fox, Chair of the Transportation Safety Board of Canada, with us this morning, and we'll be hearing from her shortly. We'll also be hearing from U.S. Undersecretary of Transportation for Policy, Carlos Monet, tomorrow. ALPA appreciates the work the department is doing to prevent some airlines from shortcutting safety. The FAA has made clear that it intends to examine the public charter loophole that airlines like the proposed SkyWest charter operation are attempting to use to skirt the aviation safety rules that have led to a 99.8% reduction in airline passenger fatalities in the United States. ALPA is actively participating in several accident and incident investigations involving U.S. and Canadian airlines with ALPA-represented pilots, including one involving FedEx pilots who NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy told CNN saved 128 people from a potential catastrophe during a near miss in Austin last February. She went on to say she was very proud of that crew, and I can tell you so am I. Tomorrow night, we'll learn about another of many examples of life-saving importance of having at least 2 qualified, experienced, and trained pilots present on every airliner flight deck. In this context, it's truly beyond belief that some are actually suggesting that pilots should be removed from the flight deck altogether. Airline safety depends on having at least 2 qualified, appropriately trained, and well-rested pilots on the flight deck at all times. We're working with our allies at the European Cockpit Association and the International Federation of Airline Pilots Associations to raise public awareness through the Safety Starts With 2 campaign and making our voices heard in national capitals around the globe. At the national levels, ALPA's Air Safety Organization is present at every opportunity to make certain that pilots' perspectives are heard. In Canada, ALPA is working with the new Minister of Transport and Associate Director General, Civil Aviation, Transport Canada, Andy Cook, who's part of our program tomorrow on critical issues affecting safety and the piloting profession. ALPA Canada is fully engaged in areas such as flight and duty time regulations, pilot training and licensing, and foreign pilots as temporary workers. In the United States, we participated in the FAA Aviation Safety Summit and the NTSB State of Runway Incursions Roundtable. Both events focused on recent safety incidents in which airplanes came too close together during takeoff and landing. ALPA provided specific steps that the FAA industry can take to further raise the U.S. aviation industry's level of safety. And we also issued safety alerts to our members that underscored pilots' vital role in managing and mitigating changes in the national airspace system. As I mentioned, ALPA's line pilots drive our union's agenda, and our union ensures that our line pilots flying in the United States and Canada are always alerted to and updated on operational safety issues. We urged an summer operational check-in amid record demand for air transportation. When the NOTAM system-related FAA ground stop occurred on all domestic departures last January, ALPA sent a letter to Congress and supported the NOTAM Improvement Act, which created a task force to identify weaknesses and provide recommendations. In addition, we've remained watchful and engaged to protect aviation safety in the context of 5G radar altimeters and the expiration of U.S. mobile wireless providers' self-imposed limitation on signal transmissions in frequencies adjacent to those used by our aircraft. In Canada, we're working to ensure the Canada C-band deployment has more protection for aviation compared with that here in the United States. We're also pursuing safety improvements for transporting dangerous goods aboard aircraft, as well as advancing the safe integration of new and expanding users to make sure that we maintain or enhance the current level of safety in the United States and Canadian national airspace. ALPA pilots are at work to reform the aircraft certification process, as well as ensure that our regulator-airline labor partnership is gathering adequate and the right kind of voluntary safety data and that it's used appropriately. Likewise, our union is continuing to call for long-term strategy for airports located in remote environments to improve regular air service and use technology and equipment to enhance safety, and participating in NAV Canada forums working to convert its airspace from magnetic navigation to true north navigation. After lunch today, we'll hear from Commissioner for Chicago Department of Aviation, Jamie Rhee. Join our program to discuss the latest developments at O'Hare and Midway International Airports. Here in Chicago and at individual airports across the United States and Canada, ALPA is advocating for the highest levels of safety, including enhancements like engineered material arresting systems and runway surface surveillance. We also work to make certain that our line pilots always have the latest information on runway construction and other airfield changes. ALPA's work is no less comprehensive in aviation security. We convened the In-Flight Crime Symposium in April to foster industry-wide discussion on unruly passenger incidents, law enforcement jurisdiction, the FFDO program, and other topics. We've advocated the line pilot perspective on key security issues such as flight deck barriers and applauded the FAA for a final rule mandating the installation of secondary flight deck barriers on all newly manufactured airliners. About time, 22 years later. ALPA continues its unwavering support for the Saraceni Enhanced Aviation Safety Act to mandate the installation of secondary flight deck barriers on all passenger airliners. We're also working to advocate the Cargo Flight Deck Security Act, which would require all cargo aircraft to be equipped with intrusion-resistant flight deck doors. ALPA pilots were proud to join the 20th anniversary event for the FFDO program in April. ALPA has advocated for increased funding and expanding training locations, and for the Atlanta facility to be designated as a full-time recurrent location. We'll have the honor of welcoming Transportation Security Administrator David Pekoski this afternoon. ALPA continues to participate in quarterly TSA known crew member meetings and regularly communicates with our pilots about KCM. We've significantly increased our education regarding that program, and I'm sure you'll agree we all look forward to the day when there's a reduced, unpredictable screening rates. We're also underscoring threats posed by unauthorized drones operated near airports and calling for all airports with airline service to use and have federal regulatory standards for counter-UAS systems. As everyone in this room understands, jump seating pilots serve as an additional safety and security asset whenever they're present on passenger and all cargo flights. ALPA is promoting our Make the Walk campaign and expanding jump seat training opportunities for pilots. Even as we meet today to redouble our commitment to safety, our union is focused on the many who are affected by the terrible wildfires on Maui, the U.S. West Coast, large portions of Canada, as well as the widespread flooding in California and the devastation in the wake of Hurricane Idalia. Our members and other individual pilots can count on our union's resource, such as work of our aviation jump seat group, to ensure that every pilot who needs a seat on an aircraft receives one whenever possible. They can also turn to our critical incident response program and ALPA's pilot peer support program. In addition, we launched the Canada Pilot Assistance website, which provides resources to help Canadian members and their families. More broadly, ALPA is committed to making sure that labor has a role at every level of aviation safety and security, including in safety management systems and particularly with the development of safety risk assessments. Just as our union continues to grow in numbers, so does our cadre of specially trained safety, security, pilot assistants, and jump seat pilot volunteers. Our air safety organization conducts a broad range of training courses on a vast number of topics, from accident investigation and security to professional standards and PPS, just to name a few. Each class is accessible to appropriate members of all ALPA pilot groups in the United States and Canada. While ALPA pilot groups determine their own direction in negotiating the working agreements that will meet their pilots' goals, we're also making sure that pilots benefit from strong collective bargaining agreements that promote a proactive safety culture and support voluntary safety reporting programs. Likewise, our union has successfully protected pilots' pilot privacy rights during interviews while assisting the NTSB's work to understand all the factors that contribute to aviation accidents, near misses, and other safety-related events. ALPA pilots are also assisting IFALPA members in addressing reporting culture and fatigue management issues. And ALPA recently applauded the U.S. Trade Representative for action in support of efforts by pilots in Mexico to organize in the face of interference and harassment. These are just a few examples of how ALPA pilots are moving forward together as we deliver on our union's more than 90-year commitment to advancing safer skies. With your presence here today, you're joining our effort to make certain that North American air transportation and the passengers, crews, and cargo we fly is safe and secure. Thank you.